Hello and welcome to another episode of Being Human. With me, Rory. I am so grateful to be here with you, and I'm excited to dive into tonight's topic because it is one that is touchy. And I feel like so many individuals are starting to contemplate in a more in depth way this topic. But it is touchy. So keep an open mind throughout it. Just know that whatever you believe is up to you. What I believe is my belief, and I'm not saying I'm right or wrong, it's just what I currently believe. And so the topic of the evening is God. Is our connection to something bigger than us? And that can be God, it can be spirit, it can be the all, it can be the greater consciousness, the energy that permeates through everything. It can be all of that. The names are interchangeable to describe the infinite intelligence that is. And I think that this is a really fun topic, as much as it's touchy, because it allows us to open our minds and get outside of our comfort zones. I say that because as much as people seem to be understanding what we will be talking about, no one seems to really talk about it. And I find that so interesting. And, I get it. We don't want to be preachy. I'm not here to preach. I am here to just observe. I'm here to witness. I'm here to just talk about something interesting through a combination of, well, what seems to be facts, even though facts are just really strong opinions, of course. But anyway, I lost my train of thought. That's okay. We're going to just dive into this. And so when it comes to this whole observation of what all of this is, we understand that there is a connection to something bigger in some way, shape, or form. And yes, now we have people who are atheists. I was an atheist at one point, and I was an atheist because I rejected God. I had been Protestant. I was, religious for my upbringing. We went to church every Sunday, Sunday school after the church service was completed, and I was in the choir, I was in the plays, I was so involved. It was just like a part of our upbringing, Bible school, all of this stuff. When I became a teenager, this is when I kind of rejected it. I said, this just doesn't feel right. I don't like that there is a God that is looking down on me and judging me. It just seemed fishy. If we were created in God's image, then wouldn't we be perfect? Right? But when that started to happen, when I started to question this, I went atheist, and that's the truth. And that's why I'm sharing it, is because I have been atheist too. And it makes sense. We go towards the science, the fact of evolution, and we'll get into all of that. And we reject the notion of God. And I feel like so many people are right there where they are what they would call atheists. And they just reject that God could be real because organized religion has made it painfully excruciating to deal with God. That's just my own opinion. I can't put it in any other more gentle terms. I just can't. When I say that, I mean that it had become about dogma. It had become this preaching of God is outside of you, and we must be God fearing in a way that it's like if you're not good enough, you're going to hell. If you are good enough, you're going to heaven. So you walk on eggshells throughout your whole life, and people are judging you, and they are saying if you're good or bad, or this or that, whatever. And that just never sat right with me. And that's where I was like, I am rejecting this completely. And I did. And, my family basically, we stopped going to church. And that's just how it was. It didn't feel aligned anymore. And I don't have anything wrong with religion. In fact, I believe that there is so much truth within all of the religions that exist throughout the world. I don't know that one is a true religion compared to another. I think that they all teach very valuable truths about this existence of life. And so there's nothing wrong with it. Everyone is able to believe what they desire, and it doesn't mean you're right or wrong. It's just your beliefs that help you move through and connect with yourself in life. But because it was fishy, I couldn't do it anymore. That's how it was. I just couldn't. And so I was atheist. I just rejected it. I said, I'm in control of my life. I get to do what I want. And I wasn't wrong, but I also wasn't seeing the whole picture. Eventually, I went through this whole depressive episode throughout my life, and I started to come to this place where I was like what I would call agnostic, where you believe there is something bigger, you have no idea what it is. And I had no idea what it was, but I knew that there was a higher intelligence, and I had to tune into it in order to connect with my own soul, my own spirit, my own being outside of or inside, or however you want to look at it, of Rory. What the essence of me was and how that was interconnected. Because I was always spiritual, at least I was starting to consider spiritual thoughts, I guess, at this point. And so if I was spiritual, then I had to be open to something more. So that is the first part of me in my experience of really waking up to, I moved from religion where I felt like it was control based. I moved to atheism, which was like, I don't believe in anything but myself, I guess, and science. I don't know if that's how I could describe it, but it's what comes through right now. From atheism, I went to agnostic. That was my belief in something bigger without a clue what the heck it was, right? Once I was exploring the spiritual journey to try to understand what it was, what I was seeking, and I was seeking connection to myself, to be able to find wholeness within, to feel free. And I had been searching for that freedom, what felt like my whole life, and I could never get to it. And I knew in the back of my mind, way down, deep down, that to find that freedom, I had to be interconnected with all that was. I just had to. And of course, that's a lifelong journey to go deeper and deeper into that interconnectedness. But it is profound once you start to move towards it. And so I started to open myself up to this possibility of something more. And when I was atheist, of course, I was watching all of the scientific thoughts that were coming through, evolution. Then it started to come to quantum theory. And this is when I started to put the pieces together, I guess. And the science started to merge with the spirituality that I was uncovering. And later on, I came to realize that they weren't separate. They were actually different pieces of the picture of the puzzle, right? So religion's included in that too. You have to know. Religion, the science, and the spiritual practice, all three of those they're like braided together. This is a really great job. But they're like braided together. You can't find the whole picture if you don't have all of the pieces. A braid doesn't work if it's two strands. It's just like a twist. Sure doesn't work if there's only one. You miss pieces of it. And so I started to see that this quantum theory was actually starting to unravel into spiritual nature. Because think, this is where we get into it. It's fun. Think about this. In quantum theory, the understanding of a deeper sense of the cosmos and what really is, with everything being interconnected with consciousness, everything's energy. This is like a fundamental knowing in science. Every single thing is energy. Nothing is not energy. Nothing can be created nor destroyed. It is just energy transforming into a new form. This is known in science. If we look at that and translate that into spiritual, everything is energy. Just like the spiritual practices have been saying, it is all spirit. We give it different words, whatever you want to call it. When it's all energy, that means we are all energy. There is nothing solid. It's just different particles, molecules, atoms, whatever you want to call it. I don't know the perfect term, sorry. It's all going at different vibrational frequencies to create the illusion of solids, of gases, of air, of whatever it may be. But we don't actually even touch solids. There's always a gap between it because there's always space between those vibrating molecules, which means nothing is actually solid. So we are just energy. We are just form of the all, because matter can't be destroyed or created. It is just energy transforming. So it is the all transforming into different form to experience. I mean, you start to see that science is now reinforcing spiritual practices, spiritual understandings. And you get to this place that is deeper and deeper. You start to see through that it is all spirit. We'll name it that. You could call it is all energy. We, in my own world, I call it spirit because I believe that it has a higher intelligence connected to it. Okay. I mean, I think that in any sense, when you look at God, it is a higher intelligence over us. If you were to look at it in a hierarchical sense, it's just that it's a larger entity that embodies more within it. Religion always has that entity being outside of us. But that science and, of course, the spiritual practice, all of those, they tell us we are within that bigger entity because we are that energy. If you look at Hermetic principles, the first one that is the most important is that law of mentalism. Mentalism is that everything is within the mind of God. And if you look at microcosm to macrocosm, everything is created through our mind as well. When you bring that together, you realize that nothing can be outside of God. It can't exist. God is everything. Spirit is everything. It is the all. Nothing can be outside of it. And so that shows us that we are within the mind of God. And it is really God imagining us. And all of this is playing out. And then we imagine, we create, and we are in God's image playing out. That actually starts to make sense. Because God creates, He is the creator. We are creators as well. I'm even creating this video. And first it was a thought in my mind, and then I manifest it, and I molded this reality to create a physical product. God did the same. Look at all of this that exists. Spirit did it, whatever you want to call it. Like I said, I'm just going to use God as that term. But one thing that is, I mean, this might be the most incredibly important thing to note ever. Religion was created to keep you stuck because God was outside of you and you feared your judgment. It was about control of you and your actions. Spirituality, the practice shows you are in God. You are a part of God because you're in God. You can't be separate. You just can't. And this starts to show us that we have this divine power as well, because we are divine beings. We are actually a small little blip of spirit created, manifest as a physical entity, as me, as Rory, experiencing what it means to be alive as Rory, and that playing out. And it brings you to this notion of what is the purpose of life, right? And it's like to experience life, to live, to experience what it means to be alive, to just experience, if you want to simplify it. That's it. And it goes deeper than that, but that's a very easy understanding of when we look at the spiritual nature of it all. It is in God. So what is in God? It is the existence of every possibility that could ever be, because everything exists within it. And it just starts to bring the realization that all is energy. We can manipulate energy. Well, spirit can manipulate energy in all these different ways because spirit is a creator. But we also do the same. I am moving energy in my body. We all know that there's energy systems, the chi, all of this, like the meridians and everything that are in Chinese medicine, and it's all connected to the energy flows because all is energy. My voice, the words I'm saying are energy. The things I feel, the emotions, energy in motion, all of this is energy. And so we see that we can then shift our energy based off what we feel, based off what we say, based off what we think. So we are in the mind of God, creating our reality through the mind of ourselves. And it is deep. And a lot of people want to tell me that I'm crazy, and that's okay. I like to sometimes be the black sheep. That's kind of been my whole life. But this observation all makes sense. When I actually think about it, it's like, okay, science is backing spiritual practices or spiritual knowledge, whatever you want to call it. It's backing this interconnectedness with all that is. And once you get out of form, you get into the formless and you allow yourself to exist on all planes. That's deeper stuff. But you just have to see you are spiritual because you exist, because you are within God. Even if you deny it, you still are it, because you can't be out of it. It is just the truth. And this brings us to this understanding of these hierarchical views where religion and all of that was about keeping us controlled. It just was. When you get to a spiritual sense, you see that there is no need for control because you are moving towards a higher alignment with yourself, with spirit, and with all that is. You blend with nature. Like I said in my previous video, it is about coming into tune with nature so that we can exist in a harmonious fashion. Being more connected with spirit, with the intelligence that is consciousness, essentially, playing out through everything, when you get more in tune with that, you are now interconnected with it all. You see that I am you, you are me. We just are wearing different masks or spacesuits, as Ram Dass puts it. You're just wearing a different spacesuit. But underneath, way deep down, you see that you are actually part of spirit. You are spirit manifest as you. And it's beautiful. It allows us to see our similarities in that we are here as humans experiencing life and learning how to be our best selves. That's it. When we see that, we get past all the division that all of these religions, think about religious wars. I mean, come on, how crazy is it that we have religious wars? Isn't the purpose of tuning to something bigger to bring us together in our commonalities? What does a spiritual practice do? It shows us that we are all of one being, that we are all interconnected. It allows us to be together, no matter what we look like, no matter our disabilities or our mindsets. We just see each other as spirit manifest, playing itself out to experience itself through infinite possibilities. And maybe this goes right over some of your heads. Maybe some of you think I'm crazy. I don't know. This is just my own belief. And I feel like no one talks about this because we're scared to be canceled. I don't care if you want to cancel me. I'm still going to talk to the void. And if you want to listen, you can. Here I am. I want people to think for themselves. And so I don't tell you what to believe. I give you different various perspectives on how to open your mind to maybe think in a way that most people are not thinking. So you can get out of the box that society's put you in. Because society wants you to believe just like everyone else. And I want you to think for yourself so you can believe your own individual thoughts. That's what matters. And that's what spiritual practices are all about. It is about coming to your own conclusion, not dogma that is pushing whatever onto you. And if you don't align with it, you are bad. That's just not real. So open your mind. Contemplate. That is what changed my life. If there is something more, what would it be? I mean, it makes sense that... Oh my goodness. That was interesting. That was spirit clearly saying something about what I was about to say. I was just going to say, it makes sense that if we exist, we're inside the bigger entity, the God, the spirit. We wouldn't be outside of it because it is us. It's not looking down on earth like we're a playpen. No. It is the energy of everything. It is the infinite potential of that point where the Big Bang exploded from. That was all of everything at one point, and poof, it exploded and became all that is. And it is still that moment if you look at it in a quantum way of looking at it. Time is not real. We have created it as humans. Everything happens in the eternal now, right this moment. So when you look at that, it is the same moment as the Big Bang. So it's pretty incredible. And you can see that there is something larger than us. This is why we have synchronicities. This is why we have coincidences that clearly aren't coincidences, but people don't want to believe in something bigger. And I think that also tunes in to this whole discussion, that people are scared to have faith. Because if they have faith and they're proved wrong, they're heartbroken. And nowadays we are so scared of feeling negative emotions, that we don't have faith. We need science to prove to us that it's real. I would rather have faith than science, even though you need them both. And I'm not some delusional person. I understand science is so important. It allows us to understand, to expand, to create medicines, to do all of this stuff. But it's also just our own need to understand stuff that a lot of the times we don't need to know. But in a deeper sense, the spiritual practice is just saying, yes, I know this happens. It's not, I know that this happens because this, these molecules come together, do a swirly swirl, an inverted flip, and then they go lay down. I'm just like, oh, no. The spirit of that comes together. It is interconnected. They do a dance. It floods into the ether, and we all live happily ever after. One sounds so boring, and the other's like, wow, magic, and that's it. Spiritual practices lead us to the magic of the universe. So, like I said, this is touchy because I think that a lot of people are scared to question their own beliefs. But I think it is so important that we always have our minds open to learn something more, to think outside the box so that we don't get stuck right where we are. Everything is transforming, and we are discovering more and more every day. And I'm not here to preach you all of these articles about what science is proving. I'm just sharing what my own experience has shared with me. And maybe it will allow you to open your mind to think for yourself, to see that the ways we have been living in society may not be actually suiting you. I have walked against the grain this entire time I have existed. And it's been hard, but it's allowed me to see things in a different manner compared to most. And like I said, I'm not saying I'm right or wrong. I don't have a clue. I really don't. But when I question the narrative that is very common, I start to uncover the illusions that have been pushed upon us. And I guess ultimately I get dragged into my own illusion of what I believe, right? But this is all relatively real, and through logic, it makes much more sense that I become delusional in a spiritual sense, which improves my life in every fashion I could believe, and I create a life I love. And then I share it with people, and it teaches people how to live. How to live. No one is taught how to live. We're taught how to work. That is not living. We don't even know how to navigate our emotions because we're taught 1 + 1 is 2. How do I feel this overwhelming grief that we are coming to the end of our lives one day? How do I do that? That's what I need to know. I don't care about taxes, but I need to know taxes too. But I bring this up because there are deeper questions, deeper conversations that people don't want to have, and I want to have them. And so I'm here to stir up the surface so we can have these conversations. And so I want to know what you think of all of this. Do you think I am batshit crazy? Which I'm sure most of you probably do, and that's fine. Or do you have your own beliefs that are in alignment with this? What do you believe that is similar and is different? I want to talk about this because no one is talking about this in this way. We touch on it, we skim on it, and we go right past, but we never actually get into our deep beliefs of what we have experienced and what we believe potentially could be. It's like I said, we'll never actually know. But it's at least fun to think about. Religion is just as illusionary as these spiritual things I'm talking about. So why not have fun and see a wide open, expansive view of what, confirmation burp, I guess, but of what could be. We might as well expand our minds towards all of what could be. I see nothing wrong with that. And so I am so grateful that you're here and that you listen to all of this, because I think that this is a start of pushing this great awakening, as we all say, to something more. When we start to talk about these big topics and we actually have contemplation coming in instead of just following the narration that has always been intertwined within society, as us just getting stuck as a bunch of sheep in a box. And if you don't fit in, you're exiled. Because right now, I want us to talk about what the talk about what isn't talked about. That's it. I want us to talk about what isn't talked about. Why else would we be human? Because we got to experience all facets of life. We have to, or else we are running from ourselves. And I want to go right into it all. The only way out is through, baby. So share what you think. Like, subscribe, comment, come back again. We are hanging out. I'm loving this, and I love that you hang out with me. And I just think that we are going towards something incredible. I know that we said this in a previous video, but we are on the way to something great. And it is slowly unfolding through the time of spirit and not on our time. So it's all unfolding as it's supposed to. So trust in that. Trust in something bigger than you that allows you to expand and fall in love with yourself and all that is. You deserve it. And so I'll see you next time. I'm coming on real soon. Probably gonna do this like every 3 minutes. So, no, but we'll be here hanging out quite often. I love you. I'll see you really soon. Bye.